The smell of a destroyer's engine room at flank speed is sharp and unmistakable. Burnt oil, steam, the metallic bite of superheated steel pressing against your sinuses in a confined space where the temperature climbs relentlessly as the throttles are pushed to maximum. On the morning of October 25th, 1944, off the island of Samar in the Philippine Sea, the men in USS Johnston's forward engine room had been at flank speed long enough for the gauges to show numbers they had only ever seen in damage control drills. The roar of 60,000 shaft horsepower driving 2,100 tons of Fletcher-class destroyer at 36 knots was bone deep, vibrating through deck plates, through the very skeleton of the ship. Communication was shouted directly into ears, passed through hand signals, and carried by the collective intuition of men who understood their ship's pulse, who could read from the vibration patterns that the surface above was alive with something unprecedented. What was happening was this. USS Johnston, carrying a crew of 327 men, armed with 5 5-inch guns and 10 torpedoes, was charging at full speed directly toward the largest, most powerful battleship ever built. And the man who ordered the charge knew, with complete clarity, the mathematics of the encounter and the mortal odds it implied. The Battle of Leyte Gulf, fought across multiple engagements from October 23rd through 26th, 1944, was already the largest naval battle in history. By almost every measure, the number of ships, the tonnage committed, the geographic expanse of combat. The specific action off Samar that morning, which involved Johnston, became known as the Battle off Samar, a singular episode in American naval history, unmatched in its combination of desperation, audacity, and sheer courage. This was not a maneuver of tactical sophistication or a flawlessly executed plan. It was an act of collective resolve by men who understood the hopelessness of their situation and chose to fight anyway. And to grasp the scale of what they achieved, one must first understand how overwhelmingly the odds were stacked against them. Taffy 3, Task Unit 70.4.3, formerly consisted of 6 small escort carriers, 3 destroyers, including Johnston, and 4 destroyer escorts. The escort carriers were Casablanca-class vessels designed for convoy protection, displacing roughly 7,800 tons and capable of 18 knots. They were not warships in the conventional sense. They were aircraft platforms intended for anti-submarine patrols, close air support, and ferrying replacement aircraft to fleet carriers. Armor was minimal, defensive armament limited to a single 5-inch gun on the stern, supported by 40mm and 20mm anti-aircraft weapons. Crews were trained for aviation and convoy duties, not surface combat, because surface combat was never expected. On the morning of October 25th, 1944, at approximately 0646 hours, radar operators aboard the escort carriers detected contacts initially classified as American aircraft at a distance of roughly 17 miles to the northwest. Within minutes, the classification shifted. Not aircraft, but ships, many ships, very large ships, closing at speeds consistent with fleet operations above 20 knots. Lookouts aboard Fanshawe Bay, the lead escort carrier, soon confirmed visually. The masts above the horizon belonged to Japanese battleships, cruisers, and destroyers center force under Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita. 4 battleships, including Yamato, 6 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 11 destroyers had slipped through the San Bernardino Strait under cover of night, evading American forces that should have intercepted them. Taffy 3 was exposed, without air cover, without reinforcements, and facing overwhelming odds. Yamato alone displaced 72,000 tons. Her main battery consisted of 9 18.1-inch guns, each capable of firing a 3,219-pound shell over 26 miles. A single salvo from Yamato's guns unleashed more explosive energy than the entire tonnage of USS Johnston. The entire Taffy 3 formation combined could not match the weight of metal center force could deliver in one firing cycle. By any conventional measure, this encounter was not a battle, it was an execution, pending intervention that offered no guarantees. Commander Ernest Evans, 36 years old, a Cherokee from Muskogee, Oklahoma, and a Naval Academy graduate of the class of 1931, absorbed the reality on Johnston's bridge at 06:58 hours. Evans was the kind of officer for whom retreat was not an option. To those who served under him, the idea of backing away from an enemy simply did not exist. Evans had commissioned Johnston in October 1943, telling his crew at the ceremony that Johnston would never retreat from an enemy. Anyone unwilling to commit fully should transfer off immediately. None did. 13 months later, that promise became operational. Without orders from Taffy 3's commander, without coordination with other destroyers, and without waiting for a larger tactical picture, Evans announced over Johnston's intercom their plan. They would lay smoke to cover the carriers and launch a torpedo attack. He instructed the crew to prepare for the worst, rang up flank speed, and pointed Johnston's bow directly at the center of the Japanese fleet. Smoke generators and funnel uptakes combined to create a dense screen behind which the carriers could maneuver. The smoke partially obscured the carriers from Japanese targeting, but offered no protection for Johnston, racing forward at 36 knots with her 5-inch guns already firing. At 07:22 hours, Johnston opened fire at ranges capable of reaching the Japanese cruisers at roughly 14,000 yards. The 5-inch shells weighed 54 pounds, dwarfed by the 277-pound shells from Kumano's 8-inch guns. The exchange was asymmetrical. Johnston's fire accomplished less in immediate damage than in forcing the Japanese fleet to adjust turning, evading, buying minutes of precious time for the escort carriers. Minutes that might mean survival. At approximately 7:30 hours, Johnston closed to within 10,000 yards of the heavy cruiser Kumano, roughly 5.5 miles, before Commander Evans ordered the torpedo spread launched. 10 Mark 15 torpedoes left the ship in a fan across the Japanese cruiser line. Each Mark 15 was steam-powered, carrying a warhead of roughly 825 pounds of Torpex, running at 45 knots, with a maximum range of 15,000 yards. At that distance, the torpedoes took 3 minutes to reach their targets, a very long 3 minutes for a 2,100-ton destroyer engaged in a gunfight with the Japanese fleet. Evans used those minutes to turn Johnston away under the smoke, initiating maneuvers that would occupy the next 2.5 hours of battle. 3 torpedoes struck Kumano, blowing off her bow and removing her from combat. 2 others hit additional cruisers, further disrupting the Japanese line. Observers through binoculars saw the explosions and the formation briefly pull back to assess damage. But the advance of center force was relentless. Johnston took the first hits around 07:45 hours. 3 14-inch shells from the battleship Congo struck in rapid succession: the forward fire control director, the engine room, the area around the bridge. A 14-inch naval shell weighed 1,485 pounds and traveled at roughly 2,600 feet per second. 3 of these, arriving within seconds on a 2,100-ton ship, caused catastrophic damage. Johnston lost her forward engine room, power to her aft guns, her gyro compass, radio transmitter, and critical steering control, which had to be restored via manual emergency tiller at the stern. Sailors trained for damage control exercises now faced the reality of operating under fire. Evans himself took shrapnel in this initial barrage, losing 2 fingers from his left hand, yet wrapped it in cloth and remained on the bridge. To those nearby, his presence was unremarkable in context. The ship was being hit, The captain remained at his post facts that underscored the operational priority of duty above survival. The next 45 minutes were the heart of the battle for Johnston's crew, experienced differently depending on station. Gun crews and bridge personnel could see shell splashes, smoke columns from burning carriers, enormous silhouettes of Japanese warships closing in. Below decks, engineering and damage control parties felt impacts as physical vibrations, structural groans, and sudden flooding, fighting fires, shoring up compromised bulkheads, bracing against ruptured compartments, all while additional hits could arrive at any moment. By 09:45 hours, Johnston was dead in the water, both engine rooms destroyed. She had taken an estimated 20 large-caliber hits and perhaps 40 more from smaller weapons. Fires raged, flooding progressed, and no amount of damage control could render the ship survivable. Evans ordered the crew to abandon ship. The water off Samar, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, was warm enough to prevent rapid hypothermia, but it offered no protection from exhaustion or shark attacks. Life jackets were present, but not always in ideal condition. Evans himself went into the water, wounded, and was not among those later recovered. Johnston sank at approximately 10 hours. After 2.5 hours of combat, her torpedoes expended, her guns firing until the end, facing a fleet that outgunned, outweighed, and outranged her at every margin. Of her 327 crew, 141 survived. 186 died, some in battle, others in the water over 50, grueling hours before rescue. Sharks claimed men incrementally, brutally. Commander Ernest Evans was among the dead. He received the Medal of Honor posthumously, the official citation noting his aggressive tactics and inspiring leadership against a numerically superior enemy. Yet these statements, while true, barely convey the reality. A decision no doctrine prescribed, executed with courage, unbound by conventional rules, a charge into history that ensured Taffy 3 survived and the invasion beaches of Leyte remained intact. Survivor accounts, such as Machinist Mate Second Class von Merchant in the after engine room, describe the hits, ruptured steam lines at 600 degrees Fahrenheit, fires, and flooding with precision, as a man trained to observe machinery would, moving instinctively through danger, performing damage control while the ship was under continuous assault. Merchant survived, was recovered after 50 hours, and lived until 1987. The photograph of Johnston at speed, her bow wave white against the Pacific blue, is preserved at the National Museum of the Pacific War in Fredericksburg, Texas. Though not on display, a quiet testament to what those men endured and the price they paid to alter the course of a battle that shaped the Pacific War.